Students want to get only marks, good marks in their exams. They are not focusing on their skills, which they can learn from the colleges and from the school. They're only focusing on the marks. They want to pass with good marks.
Correct.
This is the yes, sir.
Yeah, and this is the reality of engineering colleges and other colleges here. You
Of
know
course,
that
sir.
we have been through that, right? So
Right.
let me show you what could be the impact. What is the impact? So basically, what is happening is that students are not able to handle failures. Students are made to believe that marks are everything, as everybody around them, their peers, parents, society, they perceive marks as the benchmark of success or failure. If someone fails in an exam, then he or she is harassed mentally and socially. Parents boast in social gathering about good marks of their kids, which creates so much pressure on the peer parents who go back and then they create more pressure on their kids. So what happens? Children are afraid of being failed, and this fear of failing causes so much stress that it forces them to take this drastic step. This is a clipping from newspaper. So if you read it, so basically students are committing suicides. Let me summarize it for you. As per this thing, it says 28 students' lives are lost every day, which means one student commits suicide every 55 minutes. 10,000 students suicides in 2018, highest in 3 years. This is horrible. Education was meant to give us happiness so that we are happy, we grow as a mature person, and then we can earn something for our life. We can earn our livelihood. But now, this is the result. If you say, see this thing, what is the way forward here? It's talking about life skills should be part of school curricula. Fear of failure should be done away with. There is so much hawa made by for the exams, 10th board exam, 12th board exams, that students are committing suicide. So this is the first thing, and the second major impact is decrease in employability. Let me share some numbers by Aspiring Minds. Aspiring Mind is a skill assessment firm. They did a survey, and as the outcome, they says that 80% of the engineers in India produces are not employable, and the employability has not improved in 7 years. I am not saying this. See this. Every newspaper has published this article. It says that only 18% of engineering grads are employable. What could be the reason of this? I tried to figure that out, and my view is that the main reason of for the unemployment is that when students pass out of from schools or colleges, their prime focus is to clear the exam. The curriculum, the teaching approach followed is to make student just clear the exam. So when they join any organization or are giving interviews, they struggle because every organization wants to have employees who have the aptitude for solving problems and not just bookish knowledge. People with bookish knowledge find it very difficult to get a job, and even when they got one, they have to struggle a lot to continue remain employable in the industry. And unemployment again is a factor which might lead to suicides again, or students might leave India for better learning opportunities. Till now, we have talked about the problems. Now, let's try to see what are the solutions. You have seen the earlier clippings from the NEP and others, which I have shown you. So, all the governing bodies of education are doing their part to come out of this adverse situation. They acknowledge that. They see that our children are committing suicides. So there is something drastically wrong in the current system, which needs to be changed. NEP is modified and they will bring many changes. NCRT books will be undergoing major changes in the line with the new education policy. NCRT is preparing a detailed guideline to overhaul the board exam by 2022. And CBSE is also in the process of doing some structural changes, and they have already begun that. CBSE has introduced new subjects, and I really appreciate the effort by CBSE to introduce these new subjects like AI, artificial intelligence, design thinking, physical activity trainer as part of CBSE curriculum. Even in the time of this pandemic, I want to call that out. So there is a pandemic going on. Still, CBSE introduced these subjects in April 2020 because they know these are the most in-demand skills. These are the steps which will take us out from this adverse situation. But now, all of us who are working in education or we have children who are studying, we have a major role to play. We need to understand the why behind these changes, and then we all should adopt these with full heart and mind. This is our chance to enable our students with right kind of knowledge which will help them to sustain in this real world. So let's take a pause now. Let me know in case something is not clear to you or you have any questions, suggestions to share with us. Here is one.
No, sir. I have clear.
Okay. Harsiman, Puneet, do you have any questions or can we move ahead?
I have one question. So, yeah, so just want to understand when education system, when engineering colleges to take the admissions, they are looking for marks, right? And marks and marks and everywhere marks, 99%, 95%, 99.5%, right? And if that does not change, how the people are evaluated, why will anybody, it's just a thought, and this thought keeps popping up in my mind every time, why will anybody would want to learn why part of the studies, concepts and all that, because that is anyway not valued.
Correct.
What is valued is marks. Why would not person want to get more marks so that person is perceived as successful, at least till the college? And after that, as you rightly said, the corporate world looks at the concepts, less of the marks. So, but then colleges, B.Tech, MCAs, IIT, that way it is little different. So all they are looking for marks.
Correct. So yeah, you rightly said, Puneet. So that's why the MHRD and the NEP, they also want to modify the how they are evaluating students. So, and you are correct. Till the time these marking schemes, these exam patterns are not modified, so they are able to test students on the real skills. This cycle will go on because everybody is after marks because marks are given value. So they have to restructure the exam pattern, right? I think that's what they are doing right now, so that right value is given to the skills or the application of those skills, not just theory. So till that time this change doesn't happen, student will continue to go after the marks rather than acquiring skills to
Because that is what is
solve
required.
problems.
Yeah, because that is what is required.
Right.
So yeah, and moreover, I see that even if CBSE has launched this design thinking, which I got to know. So in that also, I observed that they have launched it as a supplementary, right? So why it is supplementary or what do you call it as not a main course? Reason is because it has not become a main course, main subject in their own mind. If they don't value it, then it will be supplementary course only. Main will be mathematics, main will be science and all those things. All right. So
Right.
so uh, because that will not change the mindset of people unless it becomes how they're going to be evaluated.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Fine. Okay. I think we can move ahead now.
Yes, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what is design thinking. So these are the two definitions which come if you search the net, right? These are the most basic definition of design thinking. Let me just read out to you. Design thinking is an iterative process in which we seek to understand the user, challenge assumptions, redefine problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. Or some say that design thinking is a mindset which provides a structured approach to understand users and then generate innovative and practical solutions for the real world problems. Frankly speaking, when I read this definition for the first time, it went over my head. So I will help you with an example to understand what is design thinking. What do you see here? So there is a picture of a truck who was going on a state highway in US and it got stuck while trying to drive under a low overbridge. So what happened next? This resulted in a huge jam on the road as truck got stuck and traffic could not move smoothly. Gradually, the list of vehicles grew and grew and it went for a few kilometers. But as alarms were raised, all the emergency personnel like firefighters, civil engineers, or traffic policemen, and even truck drivers, they came down and they were debating on negotiating various techniques to dislodge the truck. Some said to dismantle parts of truck and few said to chip away the lower portion of the bridge, but nobody agreed on either. What do you think should be done in this situation? What could be the possible outcome? So there is a problem at hand and how we should solve it. So
Dig the road. Dig the road.
hmm?
Dig the road.
Dig the road. Yeah, that's a nice. Yeah. So Rizwan, you want to share something? What could be that?
So there should be another way for long vehicles, and the same solution, dig the
Yeah,
road.
correct. Yeah. So a boy was walking by and he had witnessed the intense debate and said in a very casual manner, "Why not just let the air out of tires and move the truck?" Let me repeat. He said, "Why not just let the air out of tires and move the truck?" Everybody agreed to it and it was tested and truck was able to move. So did you notice here? So when everyone, so basically this was a true incident which happened in US many years ago and it was published in newspaper as well. So here when everyone was focused on upper portion of the truck or lower portion of the bridge, they could not find the solution. The boy challenged that assumption that solution can be found somewhere else. He redefined the problem and started thinking about how to move the truck and he figured out an approach. And as Puneet also mentioned, dig the road. That is also a very innovative way. So basically, design thinking provides a structured approach to understand users and then generate innovative and practical solutions for their real world problems. There are 5 phases of DT. These are typically, the first one is called empathize. In this phase, we try to understand the problem from user's perspective. Then comes the define phase. Here, we try to interpret the problem in our view. We just redefine the problem. In the ideate, we brainstorm, figure out what could be the different solutions for this problem. And in the prototype, we build a small prototype so that we can test our idea in the next phase, which is called testing. So this is a very bird's eye view or I say helicopter view about design thinking from the top. Now we have talked about what are the problems that current students are facing, what are the challenges of current education system. So the question then comes is that how design thinking will enable the students. First of all, it provides tools and techniques to develop critical thinking and problem solving. DT consists of 5 phases, and for each phase, there are specific tools and techniques which will enable you to build problem solving mindset and analyze things from different perspectives. Second one is it helps students in developing creative and innovative mindset. How? So by following DT approach, students or participants, we try to figure out creative and innovative solutions to our problem. There are specific techniques which will guide us how we can find creative answers. This, I really love this one. It says it enables growth with I can mindset. So basically, as and when students starts finding solutions and slowly and gradually see their solutions fixing the problems, their self-confidence increases. They start believing in their capability and their self-belief, which once said they can't do it, it's very difficult, मैं नहीं कर सकता, मेरे से नहीं होगा, now gradually shift to I can. And this is the turning point. It might take some time, but with proper guidance and mentoring from the teachers, this can definitely be achieved. The next is it enhances collaborative skills. So while working on all the projects in DT, students have to work in a team. They have to rely on each other. Together they find answers to questions. Together they brainstorm to find innovative solutions. All of these are great team building exercises, and everyone learn by collaborating as a team. The next one is it emphasizes learning through application of concepts by working on projects. So if you see, it's basically this design thinking is based on project-based learning model. Here, learning is by building solutions, working on projects. No theory, no written exam in the end. Every project has a specific goal towards which student has to move forward. They talk to different people, redefine problems, try out different solutions with only one single aim. The solution should be able to solve the problem. So in case if in the first iteration their solution is not working, then they go back to the drawing board and fine tune it and come back with new solution. And last but not the least, it develops the ability to embrace failures and how to learn from them. For every project, solution is shared or presented to the end user to get the feedback on what went well and what could be improved. When user don't like the end project or it fails to meet the initial requirements, then it isn't deemed as a failure, but as a normal step, which will lead to the final solution in the next iteration or maybe in the next one. But by going through this cycle over and over again, students realize that failing is inherent, and it teaches you a very important lesson that this might not be the correct way to solve it, so try something else. So gradually students starts taking these failures as small obstacles and try to find alternative routes to go over them, rather perceiving them as like Great Wall of China which can't be climbed. So till now I have just spoken about what are the advantages, what are the theory, but do we have any numbers to prove that? Is it really helping? Let me show you a graph which proves that the value of design thinking. So do you know what is S&P 500 index?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, it's a stock index for US for the top 500 companies, if I'm correct, Puneet, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So this is a comparison of companies which follow design thinking approach and the S&P 500 companies.
Mm-hmm.
So this graph shows that what is the positive impact made by design thinking within these organizations. So there was a study which was conducted by Design Management Institute, which says that design-led companies in the US, they have outperformed the top 500 companies of S&P by 200%. So this chart, you see the difference here. It says that they have recorded that. So this chart outlines the success of design-centric companies like Apple, Starbucks, Nike, as compared to other companies. And design thinking has played a pivotal role in these companies to keep them ahead of their competition. What else? And what are the experts are saying about design thinking? I believe everybody knows what is Forbes, right? Forbes is a magazine which publishes articles on finance, industry, technology, and they have a very strong credibility in the entire world. These articles are sort of benchmark. So if they say something, so people listen to it. So in January 2019, they published that design thinking is the next revolution in education. There is this person, Bernard Marr. He is a best-selling author and a keynote speaker. He has written numerous blogs and articles on how to survive this fourth industrial revolution. Is one of his articles he published, which was about 8 things every school must do to prepare for the fourth industrial revolution, which was published on May 2019. In this article, he has categorically explicitly listed that design thinking as one of the critical skills to survive. Okay, so before we move on to success stories, uh, again I will take a pause and see if we have any questions. Rizwan, you want to share something?
No, it's okay, sir.
Okay, fine. So the first one is that, so the first talk is by David Kelly. He is the founder of the global design and innovation company called IDEO. Kelly also founded Stanford University's Hasso-Platter Institute of Design, which is more known as the Design School or the D School. Here, David is sharing an experience about a person who designed MRI machines. How many have you seen MRIs being conducted? Rizwan, do you know how MRIs are being conducted?
Sorry, sir.
I'm saying, have you ever experienced about how MRI is being conducted, right? You lie on the board, that the board goes inside the machine. So these are wonderful machines which tells us so much about our bodies without doing any insertion and cutting,
Yes, sir.
right?
Right.
Yeah, let me share you my screen. Can you see the window now?
Yes, sir.
One second. I have put on the subtitles so that in case audio is if bit not clear, you would be able to understand that. It's just a 2-minute clip. I want to show you, so you hear it from this person because he was the person involved in fixing this person's problem. Yeah, please watch.
Can't hear.
Sorry,
Can't hear.
you can't hear the audio.
Yeah.
Uh, Let me try it once again. I've shared my screen again. 1 second. Are you able to hear it?
No, sir.
No. Okay. Where is the audio to share the option to share the audio as well? 1 second. Okay, share computer sound. 1 second. Let me see, then I will rewind it to that part. Okay.
Right. And this was really disappointing to Doug because
Yeah, can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. Okay.
looks like Doug Dietz. Doug Dietz is a technical person. He designs medical imaging equipment, large medical imaging equipment. He's worked for GE and he's had a fantastic career, but at one point he had a moment of crisis. He was in the hospital looking at one of his MRI machines in use when he saw a young family and his little girl. And that little girl was crying and was terrified. And Doug was really disappointed to learn that nearly 80% of the pediatric patients in this hospital had to be sedated in order to deal with this MRI machine. Right? And this was really disappointing to Doug because before this time he was proud of what he did. You know, he was saving lives with this machine. But it really hurt him to see the fear that this machine caused in kids. About that time, he was at the D School at Stanford taking classes. He was learning about our process, about design thinking, about empathy, about iterative prototyping. And he would take this new knowledge and do something quite extraordinary. He would redesign the entire experience of being scanned. And this is what he came up with. He turned it into an adventure for the kids. He painted the walls and he painted the machine and he got the operators retrained by people who know kids, like, you know, children's museum people. And now, so when the kid comes, it's an experience. And they talk to him about the noise and the movement of the ship. And when they come, they say, okay, you're going to go into the pirate ship, but be very still because we don't want the pirates to find you. Right? And the results were super dramatic. Right? So from something like 80% of the kids needing to be sedated to something like 10% of the kids needing to be sedated. And the hospital and GE were happy too because you didn't have to call the anesthesiologist all the time, they could put more kids through the machine in a day. So the quantitative results were great. But Doug's results that he cared about were much more qualitative. He was with one of the mothers waiting for her child to come out of the scan, and when the little girl came out of her scan, she ran up to her mother and said, "Mommy, can we come back tomorrow?" Right?
Okay. So did you hear this, right? You see how the journey, which was terrible for small children, it turned into terrific experience, right? Students, children were loving and they want to come back. So that was a real win. And the main differentiator was they try to understand the problem from children's perspective and then try to solve it to fix that. And there is another video which I want to share, which is from India. 1 second. So this talk is by Kiranbir Sethi, who is a designer who graduated from NID Ahmedabad, and she founded this school, Riverside, in Ahmedabad, which is based on design principle. And this school is now viewed as a laboratory to prototype design process that enables transformative students' learning experience. This school is a testimony of what design principle-based learning can achieve. She was even invited to TED Talks to share her experience. I believe everybody know about TED Talks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we will spend some next 7-8 minutes to see this video. This is an awesome talk by
Okay.
Kiran.
Contagious is a good word. Even in the times of H1N1, I like the word. Laughter is contagious. Passion is contagious. Inspiration is contagious. We've heard some remarkable stories from some remarkable speakers. But for me, what was contagious about all of them was that they were infected by something I call the I can bug. So the question is, why only them? In a country of 1 billion people and some, why so few? Is it luck? Is it chance? Can we all not systematically and consciously get infected? So in the next 8 minutes, I would like to share with you my story. I got infected when I was 17, when as a student of the design college, I encountered adults who actually believed in my ideas, challenged me, and had lots of cups of chai with me. And I was struck by just how wonderful it felt and how contagious that feeling was. I also realized I should have got infected when I was 7. So when I started Riverside School 10 years ago, it became a lab to prototype and refine a design process that could consciously infect the mind with the I can bug. And I uncovered that if learning is embedded in real-world context, that is, if you blur the boundaries between school and life, then children go through a journey of aware, where they can see the change, enable, be changed, and then empower, lead the change. And that directly increased student well-being. Children became more competent and less helpless. But this is all common sense. So I'd like to show you a little glimpse of what common practice looks like at Riverside. A little background. When my grade 5 was learning about child rights, they were made to roll incense sticks, agarbattis, for 8 hours to experience what it means to be a child laborer. It transformed them. What you will see is their journey and then their utter conviction that they could go out and change the world. So that's them rolling. And in 2 hours, after their backs broke, they were changed. And once that happened, they were out in the city, convincing everybody that child labor just had to be abolished. And look at Raghav. That moment when his face changes because he's been able to understand that he has shifted that man's mindset. And that can't happen in a classroom. So when Raghav experienced that, he went from teacher told me to I am doing it. And that's the I can mind shift. And it is a process that can be energized and nurtured. But we had parents who said, okay, making our children good human beings is all very well, but what about math and science and English? Show us the grades. And we did. The data was conclusive. When children are empowered, not only do they do good, they do well. In fact, very well. As you can see in this national benchmarking assessment taken by over 2,000 schools in India, Riverside children were outperforming the top 10 schools in India in math, English, and science. So it worked. It was now time to take it outside Riverside. So on August 15th, Independence Day 2007, the children of Riverside set out to infect Ahmedabad. Now it was not about Riverside School. It was about all children. So we were shameless. We walked into the offices of the municipal corporation, the police, the press, businesses, and basically said, when are you going to wake up and recognize the potential that resides in every child? When will you include the child in the city? Basically, open your hearts and your minds to the child. So how did the city respond? Since 2007, every other month, the city closes down the busiest streets for traffic and converts it into a playground for children and childhood. Here was the city telling its child, you can. A glimpse of infection in Ahmedabad. So, the busiest streets closed down, We've had the traffic police municipal corporation helping us and gets taken over by children. They are skating, they are doing street plays, they are playing, all free for all children.
Approach is an organization which has been doing things for kids earlier, and we plan to extend this to other parts of the city.
And the citizens give free time. And Ahmedabad got the first child-friendly zebra crossing in the world.
When a city gives to the children, in the future the children will give back to the city.
And because of that, Ahmedabad is known as India's first child-friendly city. So you're getting the pattern. First 200 children at Riverside, then 30,000 children in Ahmedabad and growing. It was time now to infect India. So on August 15th, again, Independence Day, 2009, empowered with the same process, we empowered 100,000 children to say, I can. How? We designed a simple toolkit, converted into 8 languages, and reached 32,000 schools. We basically gave children a very simple challenge. We said, take one idea, anything that bothers you, choose 1 week, and change 1 billion lives. And they did. Stories of change poured in from all over India. From Nagaland in the east to Jhunjhunu in the west. From Sikkim in the north to Krishnagiri in the south. Children were designing solutions for a diverse range of problems, right from loneliness to filling potholes on the street to alcoholism, and 32 children who stopped 16 child marriages in Rajasthan. I mean, it was incredible. Basically, again, reaffirming that when adults believe in children and say, you can, then they will. Infection in India. This is in Rajasthan, a rural village.
सब अनपढ़ हैं सर, उनको सहन आते नहीं सर, वो घूंटे टिकवाते हैं, इसलिए सर उनको सहन करना सिखा दो.
First time, a rally and a street play in a rural school, unheard of, to tell their parents why literacy is important. Look at what their parents said.
ये प्रोग्राम होने लगे तो हमारे लिए बहुत अच्छा लगे. हमारे बच्चों ने पढ़ते तो कहाँ हमने सिखाते.
मेरे को सर बहुत अच्छा लगा कि मेरे स्कूल के बच्चों ने ये किया. आगे से मैं ऐसा कठिन महसूस नहीं करूंगी, मेरे से नहीं होगा, मेरे बच्चों से नहीं होगा. मेरे को तुरंत ये रहेगा क्योंकि मेरे बच्चों ने करके दिखाया है.
An inner city school in Hyderabad.
581 यहाँ पर है ना, 581 A 55 से स्टार्ट करें ना अपन.
Girls and boys in Hyderabad going out, pretty difficult, but they did it.
मेरे को बहुत ये खुशी हुई कि इतने छोटे छोटे एज के लड़के इतना अच्छा करे. आज ये सोसाइटी क्लीन कर रहे हैं हम लोग, कल अपना हैदराबाद चेंज होगा. हैदराबाद चेंज होगा, परसों अपना इंडिया चेंज होगा.
It was a revelation for me. It doesn't strike me that they had so much inside them.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, for an auction. We have some wonderful paintings for you, for a very good cause. The money you give us will be used to buy hearing aids. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Are you ready? Are you ready?
So the Charter of Compassion stands right here. Street plays, auctions, petitions. I mean, they were changing lives. It was incredible. So how can we still stay immune? How can we stay immune to that passion, that energy, that excitement? I know it's obvious, but I have to end with the most powerful symbol of change, Gandhiji. 70 years ago, it took one man to infect an entire nation with the power of we can. So today, who is it going to take to spread the infection from 100,000 children to the 200 million children in India? Last I heard, the preamble still said, we the people of India, right? So if not us, then who? If not now, then when? Like I said, contagious is a good word. Thank you.
Hi. So, yeah, that is for today. So, in the end, I would like to just conclude with this statement that, design thinking is a wonderful approach. We need to spread awareness about it, how it can transform our students, for their betterment. We need to join hands with the CBSE initiatives so that it reaches out to the maximum students. That's it. Now we can have a small Q&A session. So I would ask Rizwan.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts? If you have any questions?
Sir, question is that same question again, sir. That students are running for the marks.
Right.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. I'm saying that students are now also running for the mask, and what kind of the change we can do, and what kind of the change government can do for the students.
Yeah, so I'm saying so NEP. So on the initiative from MHRD, which is Ministry of Human Resource and Development. So they have already started to think over how these things can be fixed. So they have initiated the process. I read somewhere in last year also that they are trying to do a complete overhaul of the syllabus and the exam pattern. So we need that support from the government and the education governing bodies. But at the same time, we should be trying to spread how things can change, how we can do our bit. So we need to spread awareness about design thinking in students, in teachers, in schools. Because if CBSE has initiated it, so it means they felt that they want to change something. They want to undo the wrongs that have been done earlier. Okay. So it will take some time. It's a long journey, but it has to start. So I think it's one of the baby step that we can take is to spread awareness about design thinking and spread awareness about what are the changes happening in the NEP, so that people acknowledge that why it is happening. Till the time they don't understand the why behind it, they won't be able to join it. I hope you are able to understand the reason of doing these changes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what are your thoughts about design thinking? How do you like that? How do you find that?
I think so. It will be very practical.
Right.
As my friend said that, will it be the main subject or the primary subject?
So you are asking me this question, right? Will it be a main subject or not, right?
Yes, sir.
So as of now, CBSE has introduced as the design thinking and artificial intelligence as one of the additional subjects in 11th. So they have introduced design thinking as part of the skill subject from 6th to 8th, and from 11th onwards, it is an additional subject.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share, discuss? Harsiman, Puneet, you have any questions? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead, Rizwan, I think.
I think it was Harsiman.
Okay, Harsiman, go ahead.
It was just a thought that yes, government is applying all those changes, yes, but only the government cannot help. It's the people mindset that has to be changed, right? Because right now, not only students but parents also focus on marks.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's the
correct.
mentality of the Indian society, right? That needs to be changed. If you heard about Finland country has the #1 education system in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are no mandate tests, standardized tests in Finland, apart from one exam that at the end of the student's senior year. That's it. There are no rankings, no comparisons, no competition between the students.
Correct.
And apart from all these, they are still the #1 education system in the world. They have, right?
Yeah, so they
have made these changes a long back. So that is why they're successful.
Right.
Yeah, true. So, so to achieve that, the Finland's school teacher get more salary than a doctor.
Yeah, I know that. Yes.
Yeah, so they are the people who are earning the best in the country in Finland, that in that profession, and they don't take people as in a teaching profession just like that. They're like, there is like, person should have like too deep a passion to teach, because they believe that kids in the Finland should be taught by the people who have a passion to teach, so that they those kids, when they grow, they build the country. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. So yeah, so you're rightly said, and that is why I was mentioning that unless so I agree that mindset of the people is supposed to change. Parents are not supposed to see the marks, but what parents will do when marks are valued, when they take their kids to take admission in some good colleges,
Yeah.
right? So parents can't help it. Otherwise, if that is not changing, people have to stand in the queue. They stand in the queue and then wait for admission. When I did my schooling, I got some around 92% in PCM. I wanted to take computer science in Hansraj College. They did not give me. They did not give me. They told here it is not less than 95%. And they gave me, and I got some 95, 93% in chemistry. And they gave me chemistry honors in Hansraj. I studied for 1 month, but I wanted to do computers. I left it. So that is what is valued. So things are supposed to change there. So that message also should go to the government, and there are people who are influencers in education field. One guy is Varun Malhotra. So he's educating government about economy. Today also he has raised something like 20% increase. His mantra is 20% increase in the innovation in schools. I just saw it some time back. So yes, so that's, such things are required. And if you, I have one question. This lady Sethi, she showed the video, and in between, some parents asked, "Okay, all right, life skills are good, but what about the maths and science?" And then she showed that PPT.
Yeah, the graph.
Right, that PPT where 95% they have outperformed the top 10 schools. Right? So her school is also focusing on marks. Why? Reason is because marks are valued. That is how she can tell that our school is doing better than other schools. When will that day come when people ask, what are the projects kids have done? How many innovative products they have created? That is the day these designs, innovations will start flourishing in the minds of Indian kids, and for that matter, any kids in the world.
Right. Yeah, Puneet. Yeah, you have summed it very nicely.
Yeah.
It should be, so it has to start from the top. Unless the benchmark that people or society use to evaluate kids or to get admission, unless they are not changed. So this thing, people have to go after the marks.
Yeah.
But I believe with the gamut of changes that are in process, so we will see some change. So I am very positive about it. Let's hope something nice happen, so that at least the next generation of students or our children doesn't have to go through the same cycle here what we have gone through.
Correct. True.
Yeah.
True. Nice.
Yeah.
So it was good. It was very good. Very nicely presented. Yeah.
Okay, Rizwan. That's it for today. Thanks for joining. I hope you gained something new from this webinar.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for this webinar.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.